Good morning, students, teachers, and parents. A warm welcome to Tuesday's morning assembly. I must tell you, children, that we are all really excited to have you back in campus. The campus is back to life once again with your non-stop chats and murmurs, friendly greetings, vibrancy, and positive energy. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all of you on behalf of all the teachers for the wonderful Teachers' Day assembly. We all thoroughly enjoyed your performances. So without further ado, let me introduce the topic I have selected for today's assembly. Please give me a couple of seconds to share my screen. I hope all of you can see the slide right now. I'll be introducing the concept called cognitive biases to you today. Over the next couple of slides, I will talk about the relevance of being aware of cognitive biases, how cognitive biases can distort our thinking and decision making process, and finally, the most common type of cognitive biases you will find around you. It's extremely important that all of you, especially the middle school students, listen to me very carefully because though the term cognitive bias might sound a bit complicated to you, all of us subconsciously practice some of the cognitive biases that I'm talking to you today in our daily life. Before throwing the reflection questions you see on the slide right now to you, won't all of you agree with me over the fact that over the last couple of years, I mean, in fact, to be more precise, since the lockdown has started, our screen time has exponentially increased. And particularly, our proximity and access to social media has increased manifold. The amount of information that pours into our mind and brain is quite exhaustive. And I think it's high time we all take a pause and reflect on how we are processing this infinite information. So these are the questions I would like to ask you now for a self-reflection. Number one, are you processing the information in the right manner? Number two, are our thinking biased because of our brain's attempt to simplify information processing? And lastly, do we adopt shortcuts to process information? So now it's time for all of us to decode what is cognitive bias. As you see on the slide, a cognitive bias is a systematic error in the thinking that occurs when we are processing as well as interpreting information. Please note that I've deliberately bolded the word systematic error, which kind of reveals that cognitive bias is something that we should avoid as much as possible. Now you might ask me, why should we avoid cognitive biases? Because again, as mentioned on the slide, cognitive biases should be avoided since it can distort our decisions and judgments. So if you're not really unsure how cognitive biases can distort our decision and judgments, when I take you through the most common four types of cognitive biases, and when I give the examples of these kind of cognitive biases, I think it will become very clear to you why are cognitive biases, or why cognitive biases should be avoided. Now that we know what are cognitive biases, and now we know that cognitive biases distorts the way we process information, I think it's time for us to look at the most common type of cognitive biases that we see around us. Number one, confirmation bias. I would probably give you a couple of minutes to just read what is written on the slide, and then I will explain to you. You may also look at the image so that you get some prior understanding before I explain what is confirmation bias to you. If you can see on the image, there is somebody reading a book titled Planet Earth is Definitely Flat. And then and the message he puts to us as I knew it. Okay, confirmation bias is probably the most frequently occurring cognitive biases. It is the idea that we all seek out for information and data that conforms to our pre-existing ideas. Okay, again, can you reflect for a few seconds? Is there a tendency on our behalf to search for, interpret, and recall information in a way that conforms to our prior beliefs and our prior values? In fact, if you see the image on the slide, what you can see is that a person who believes that the earth is flat will only look for resources that confirms that the earth is flat and doesn't look beyond it. Here are some examples of confirmation bias. People tend to read news and newspapers that align with their perspectives. This is also applicable to news channels. We all have our favorite news channels because those news channels probably give news that probably conforms to our pre-existing beliefs and our values and our ideas. People also, okay, the second example is people tend to support the decision of political parties or leaders that they like. And lastly, people also tend to search for and interpret evidence with respect to their religious beliefs. So, okay, students, I hope by now you have understood what confirmation bias is. In fact, confirmation bias is one of the reasons why conspiracy theories are flourishing in social media these days. For those of you who are not really sure what conspiracy theories are, it's a belief that some secret but influential organization is responsible for an event or a phenomenon. Some of the most widely circulating conspiracy theories are the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the moon landing hoax, the 9/11 conspiracy, the global warming hoax. Belief in conspiracies is highly correlated with confirmation bias and distrust in people and institutions. Statistics suggest that roughly 75% of the world population believes in at least one conspiracy theory. It cuts across socioeconomics, gender, racial divisions, and shows up at every level of our society. Conspiracies are often propagated as a form of political propaganda by exploiting confirmation bias. So, for example, if you are against environmental regulations, you may gravitate towards the idea that climate change is a hoax. Please watch this video, which will connect conspiracy theories with cognitive biases.
You guys would not believe what it is that I'm about to show you.
We all have an idea of what a conspiracy theorist looks like, but the true picture might live a little closer to home.
What we find on polls is that the more conspiracy theories we ask about, the fewer and fewer people there are who don't believe in any.
So, if so many different people are susceptible, why are we so attracted to conspiracy theories?
If the question is, why do people believe conspiracy theories? The question you're really asking is, why do people believe anything? And the answer is, for a lot of reasons. There isn't just one factor. And it would be easy if we could pin it on one thing, like, oh, it was Twitter made everyone believe this, or they were dropped on their head, or they happen to fit a particular demographic, or they have some psychological problem. But that's not going to explain most beliefs for most people.
My eyes have opened. And once they're open, believe me, what used to look normal seems insane and now keen. Don't you think this has something to do with that?
The reality is that we all share certain hardwired evolutionary traits that help us navigate the world. One such trait is how we verify information without direct personal experience.
We only have a certain knowledge. Normally it's what's all around us. I know my Hyundai car, but I do not know another car. We've been in that situation where we'll step into a new car and then you can't release the handbrake because it's some strange setup. It's the same idea as in how we navigate the world. There's gaps in our knowledge that we have to fill. That knowledge that we bring in, it can be flawed.
We readily assign truth to new information, in part because so much of the information we receive is true, and also because it's easier to process. But these useful shortcuts are vulnerable to being hijacked by misinformation. Studies have shown that when we are repeatedly exposed to a piece of false information, we become more likely to believe it.
One. The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence.
We fall for repetition even when we know better. We see it months after exposure among intelligent people, and even after we give strong warnings.
This illusion of truth can have a powerful effect.
It's really difficult to correct misconceptions once we accept them. The brain data suggests that myths are never erased. So we're concurrently storing both the original misinformation and its correction. That correction might fade from memory faster. And that leaves us with that original myth.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Now we move to the second type of cognitive bias. The second most commonly occurring cognitive bias is called self-serving bias. A self-serving bias is the common habit of a person taking credit for positive events or outcomes, but outrightly blaming outside factors for negative events. To simplify this, as you see in the diagram, if the outcome or result is good, you take all the credit without sharing it with your family members, friends, teachers, etc. The moment the outcome is bad, the entire blame is passed on to others. Again, it's reflection time. Are you prone to self-serving bias? Do you acknowledge the presence and inputs of others when you meet success? Do you thank them? Contrary, when the outcome is bad, are you a braveheart who's ready to acknowledge that this is your mistake instead of passing the blame to others? I've got a couple of examples of self-serving bias that can happen to you. For example, the number one, athletes win a game and attribute their win to hard work. However, if they lose the following week, the entire blame is passed on to the referees. They might say that there was a bad call by the referees. They might blame the weather, and they will find some excuses. So as I mentioned before, if there is success, the entire credit goes to you. But if there is a failure, then you find other excuses, and you will find that it happened because there is somebody else to be blamed for. Also, another example that I would like to mention here is when students generally do well in the examinations, or when they receive a good grade, they attribute their success to their study habits and expertise on the subject. However, if the exam score is low or it doesn't meet their potential, a student may recall the test as being unfair, or even perceives the questions as being out of syllabus. Again, it's time for you to reflect whether you are prone to self-serving bias. Okay, the third type of cognitive biases are called as halo effect. Physical appearance is often a major part of the cognitive bias called halo effect. People who are considered attractive tend to be rated higher on other positive traits as well. People who are sociable and friendly and popular may also be seen as more likable and intelligent. Have you ever experienced halo effect? Halo effects probably is the most important reason why celebrities are able to endorse, market, and advertise their products, and also to convince all of us to buy that particular product. I got a couple of examples to reinforce the concept of halo effect to you. Experts suggest that halo effect is one of the most common biases affecting performance appraisals and reviews. This is from the point of view of a corporate sector. Supervisors may rate subordinates based on the perception of a single characteristic rather than the whole of their performance and contribution. I'll make it more lucid for you. For example, a worker's enthusiasm or positive attitude may overshadow their lack of knowledge or skill, causing co-workers to rate them more highly than their actual performance justifies. A reason why some workers are overrated or some employees are overrated. As mentioned to you before, marketeers or corporates take advantage of the halo effect to sell products and services. When a celebrity spokesperson endorses a particular item, our positive evaluations of that individual can spread to our perceptions of the product itself. This is halo effect to you. The last and final type of cognitive bias that I have in store for you is called availability bias. Now, what is availability bias? It's a distortion that arises from the use of information which is most readily available. We tend to acknowledge or rely on information that comes to our mind faster. It also influences the decisions we make about the future. It is an overemphasis on a certain memory. If my explanation is not that clear, let's look at few examples. In the workplace, if someone is being considered for a promotion, but their employer or boss recalls one bad thing that happened years ago, but has left a lasting impression in the boss's mind, this is what is projected, and therefore this employee is denied a promotion. The reason? Availability bias. A final common example that is used to demonstrate availability bias describes how seeing several television shows or news reports about shark attacks might make you think that this incident is relatively common, even though it is not at all. There are a number of reasons why we should strive to eliminate cognitive biases and biased thinking. But please remember, cognitive biases can lead us to avoid information that we don't like and fail to recognize information that could lead to a more accurate outcome. So, hope you have understood the importance of avoiding cognitive biases in your thinking process. However, please do understand by nature, cognitive biases are subconsciously created. And therefore, don't blame too much if you have personally experienced any of the 4 types of biases that I discussed today. The message from me is to try your best to avoid these biases so that your decision making is accurate and sound. So wishing you a good day and a good week ahead. Thank you.
Now, we have a very special announcement to make. One that is much awaited. The winners of the Vibram raffle.
Arjun Sama of grade 8 won AirPods and Shrestha of grade 11 won the Alexa Echo Dot.
Sumer Roy from 10A, you've won a JBL speakers, congratulations for that. And Ishan Suraj from 9C, you've won a cricket bat signed by Mr. Anil Kumble. Congratulations guys, and thank you for participating in Vibram 2021.
For our teachers raffle, congratulations to Mr. Bimal, who won a Bluetooth headset, Miss Shelbira Chetri, who won a graphing tablet, and Mr. Derek Swain, who won a cricket bat signed by Anil Kumble.